just don't know when to quit.
Yeah, I've been told that before.
Wow. Are you guys seeing this? I need a weapon.
Hello there.
You with you?
I thought yours was you.
What's going on, everybody? How's it going? Welcome back to Slav's Free Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Slav, and we got a show today. I don't mean for all of my shows right now to all be about DC, but James Gunn and DC Studios just want to keep throwing out all of this information, whether it's about Superman or DC, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about in regards to DC today. I'm excited about Superman. I know a lot of you are excited about Superman. Look, I have some other things to talk about. There are a couple other things that I want to talk about that are exciting, but the bulk of this show is going to be DC related. So get excited, DC fans, because we are going to talk quite a bit about DC. So I hope you are excited. We do have some people in here, though, already who are excited to be here. We got Hope for Life. He says, "Hey, Slav, what's going on?" Critic Chris says, "Hey, Slav, and fellow DC fans." Amari says, "Sup, everyone." Jalen says, "YOLO." And Trayvon in his Mrs. Doubtfire voice, "Hello." Xander Wild, off work early. "What's up, y'alls? What's going on?" And Derpy Entertainment is in here. "My glorious king," he says. What is going on, everyone? All right. So the first two stories are not going to be DC related, but they're interesting topics that I want to cover that are, kind of exciting and important to me. And I need to pull something up here that I forgot to pull up because I am awesome at what I do. Isn't that right? I hope you all had a good week. Weekend, I should say. It was a pretty hectic weekend for me. A lot of stuff going on. Father's Day was just yesterday, so hopefully you got to spend some time with your fathers, or if you are a father, happy Father's Day or belated Father's Day to you. It was a fun day for me. I got a pressure washer. That's always fun when you're a father. You get fun things like that. So let's get into it. All right. The first topic I want to cover is Spaceballs 2 was announced. That's right, Spaceballs 2, which in my opinion is one of, if not the greatest parody comedy of all time. Mel Brooks, who is currently 98 years old right now? Almost 99. I think he's due to be 99 in a couple months. This man is one of the greatest comedy writers of all time. When you take a look at his works that he's done, whether it's Blazing Saddles, History of the World, Spaceballs, The Producers, so many other works that he's done, he is a comedic genius. Young Frankenstein, comedic genius. When he made Spaceballs back in the 80s, it was to parody not just Star Wars, but Star Trek and all of those kind of sci-fi fantasy films that were out at the time. Obviously, there's a lot that is taken from Star Wars, which was fantastic. Being a big Star Wars fan, I absolutely adored Spaceballs because I could sit back and say, look, I love Star Wars, but this was just a darn good time. It was a darn good time, and I loved it. There's always been a call for a Spaceballs 2. Always. There's always been a call asking Mel Brooks, when are you going to make another one? When are you going to make another one? When are you going to make another one? And let's not forget, he played 2 roles in the film. So it's always been like, come on, man. When he did a remake of a film of his, because he did a movie called The Producers, which is also a play on, I believe it was on Broadway. I don't know if it still is, but it's a play. He made a film version of it back in like the 70s with Gene Wilder, and then he did a remake of it in the 2000s with Nathan Lane and Matthew Broderick, which I absolutely love. I adore that film. It's hilarious. It was kind of like, look, why are you going back and remaking movies? Just make Spaceballs 2. Come on, man. And then he did a sequel to History of the World just a few years ago. So it was kind of like, oh man, it's got to be coming, right? It has to come. It's got to be coming. Well, it wasn't long ago that they then started talking like, yeah, we're looking and mulling over the idea of making Spaceballs 2, where we're just getting everything together. We're going to see if we can make it work. The big problem with Spaceballs, though, is one of the main actors in the film is Rick Moranis. Now, Rick Moranis, comedic genius as an actor. Comedic genius. I mean, you take a look at his work from Ghostbusters to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids to Spaceballs to Little Shop of Horrors. I mean, there's so much that he has done that is just fantastic. But he retired in like the mid to late 90s. And it was an honorable thing for what he did. I mean, he didn't retire because he was like, I'm sick of Hollywood. I'm sick of the acting. I'm sick of the gig, blah, 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 all that stuff. I felt like I did everything. It wasn't because of that. His family went through a tragedy. He lost his wife and he wanted to be there for his kids. And he retired to be there for his kids. So he's been retired for 30 years at this point. Now, he did pop up in a commercial with Ryan Reynolds for Mint Mobile. And it was kind of like, oh man, he's back. Is he going to be back? When they were talking about redoing Ghostbusters, when they did Ghostbusters Afterlife and then Frozen Empire and everything, it was kind of like, oh, is this going to be where Rick Moranis comes out of retirement? It was kind of like, oh, this got to be it, right? And then he didn't come out of retirement. But then when you start talking about Spaceballs, I mean, he was the villain. He was the bad guy. He was one of the main characters in that movie. You can't make a Spaceballs 2 without him. So it was like, okay, are they going to do it? Are they going to get Rick Moranis out of retirement here? Well, yes, they have. Rick Moranis is coming out of retirement officially to be in Spaceballs 2. That had to be what was holding everything up, right? Well, I mean, they don't really say, but that has to be it. Not only that, but they're bringing Bill Pullman back into it, who was another main character in the original. But alongside Bill Pullman, they're bringing in Kiki Williams. She's in it. And Bill Pullman's son, Lewis Pullman, who you may have recently seen in Thunderbolts as Sentry. He will be playing, I believe, the son of Bill Pullman's character in the movie. I am over the moon about this. And the teaser that they did for this film is was on point. Was absolutely on point. It was just a long scroll similar to that of the Star Wars scroll, which they did in the first Spaceballs. And they just went through like 30 years. We had this and this and this and this and this. And they even did a little jab at DC. DCU attempt number 1, DCU attempt number 2, an animated Lion King, a live action Lion King. And like they just went through all of it. And it was hilarious. Fantastic. Like that is Mel Brooks. And in this day and age, I personally, I hope Mel Brooks doesn't fall into the like not taking chances with his jokes type of thing, like his comedy. Like stay true to who he is as a writer and an artist, and just go for it. Just go for it, because that's the beauty of what his comedies were. If you go back and watch his comedies from the 70s and 80s, it was unapologetically just crude and what we needed at the time. And a lot of people will say you can't make those movies today, but I ask why not? Because there's no reason why you can't make those movies today. The only reason why people say you can't make those movies today is because they have too tight of panties on and they're afraid of what they'll hear. Who cares? It's comedy. And it's supposed to be uncomfortable sometimes. It's supposed to be funny sometimes. And that's the whole point of it. So I hope Mel Brooks goes that route. I hope he sticks to his guns and goes that route. Now, I'm not saying Spaceballs was totally like that. Now, like Blazing Saddles, History of the World, they were more in that raunchy, uncomfortable range when it comes to the comedy. Spaceballs was a little more lighthearted and more fun, but it could get there at times. So I hope they go that route, and I hope they stick to that because it's just a lot of fun. It is. It's a lot of fun. I am so excited about this. I hope it doesn't disappoint. And you just sit there and think it's coming out in 2027. Mel Brooks, he's going to be 101 basically when this movie comes out. Absolutely crazy. He's going to play one of the characters at least that he played in the original, which is Yogurt. I can't wait. I can't wait. But let me know your thoughts. I think this is fantastic. It's exciting. I don't know if you can tell by my excitement how excited I am for this. Did I say Kiki Williams? Maybe Kiki Palmer. That's what it is. Not Williams, Palmer, I think. Anyways, regardless, I'm excited. I'm over the moon about this. I cannot wait. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. All right. What are you guys saying over here? Oh, and fun little note. Maybe you didn't know this. Mel Brooks has a son named Max Brooks. And Max Brooks is the one who wrote World War Z, which is a fantastic zombie novel, but a terrible, terrible zombie movie. But there you have it. What do we got over here? Oh, Tito with a $10 super chat says, check out my Batman Inc. 9139. Be amazed at the Snyder meme. I will do that right now. Let's take a look at it. You made a Snyder meme. Batman. There it is. I got it right there at the top. You see, I barely had to look at anything. Is it this one here from June 12th? Is that the one you're talking about? Good times, man. Oh boy. Thank you very much. Donovan, you're talking about something else. Spaceballs. Critic Chris says, so Spaceballs 2 talks is real. Wow. Yes, 100% real, man. It is 100% real. I'm so excited. You have no idea how excited I am about this. Let's see. Anything else about Spaceballs? Critic Chris says, Rick Moranis was one of those actors that always delivers. 100%. He always delivers when he was in things. So I hope he still has it today. I'm sure he does. I mean, there's no way. It's either you got it or you don't. And he's one of the ones that I'm pretty sure he's got it. He's definitely got it. Trayvon also says, don't forget the Flintstones movie. Rick Moranis played Barney. Yes, he did. The first one, which is the best one. Absolutely. Not that Rock Vegas crap. Yeah, absolutely. Donovan says, I have a feeling that Spaceballs 2 is just going to have, or it's just going to be all bark and no bite. I don't know. I trust Mel Brooks here. I do trust him. Amari says, seems like I need to watch the original. 100% watch the original. I need to, it's been so long since I've watched. I need to watch it again. I do. Trayvon says, fitting, they're re-releasing Spaceballs 40 years after Spaceballs 2, 40 years after Spaceballs 1. Let's see. And Trayvon says, don't die on me, Mel. I think he's fine. He's very spry for almost 100 years old. If you've seen him on videos, very spry. Let's see. Oh, my Diaz is in here. Sup, oh, my Diaz. How's it going? All right. Moving on to the next topic. Before we get into all the DC stuff, we got Switch 2. Switch 2 sells record-breaking 3.5 million units in 4 days. 4 days, guys. Switch sells record-breaking 3.5 million units in 4 days. That's absurd. Now, you know what my feelings are on the Switch 2. I still don't believe that this is a system that even should be made right now. It is 7-year-old, 8-year-old graphics in a in a nearly 10-year-old gimmick or whatever. But this is coming from Polygon. It says Nintendo Switch 2 is off to a roaring start. Early on Wednesday, Nintendo announced that it had sold 3.5 million units of its new console in just 4 days, making it Nintendo's fastest selling console ever. In fact, this is likely the biggest console launch of all time by quite some margin. For comparison, PlayStation 5 shipped, not sold, shipped 4.5 million units in its first 7 weeks. PlayStation 4 sold 2.1 million in a little over 2 weeks, and Nintendo Switch, the original Switch, sold 2.74 million in its first month. Fans around the world are showing their enthusiasm for the Switch 2 as an upgraded way to play at home and on the go, said Nintendo of America President Doug Bowser in a statement. We are thankful for their response and happy to see the fun they're already having with Nintendo Switch 2 as they explore new features and games that bring friends and family together in new ways. Nintendo's promotional push for Switch 2 didn't go smoothly, with chaotic pre-orders, concerns over the impact of US tariffs, and fan criticisms of the high price of the system and its games, but the launch itself seems to have gone without a hitch. Nintendo's efforts to make a large amount of stock available at launch have clearly paid off, with fans reporting consoles are still available to buy in some areas despite record sales. Consequently, scalping has been less of an issue than during other recent console launches. There have been no widespread reports of technical issues. Nintendo has predicted it will sell 15 million Switch 2s during its current financial year. It's well on the way to that figure already, although Nintendo still faces the challenges of maintaining stock availability and extending this expensive console's reach past the first wave of early adopters. If Switch 2 hits its first year target, it will join Nintendo's other faster sellers over the first year on sale: Game Boy Advance, Nintendo 3DS, and the original Switch. Look, I still think this is an overpriced console. It's overpriced. It's old hardware. It's an old gimmick. I don't quite understand why people are so dead set on getting this. Now also with the announced Xbox ROG, which is going to be basically an Xbox handheld, I think that there's a good chance that the Switch 2 may slow down in sales, possibly, but we still don't know what the price of the Xbox ROG is going to be. It could be anywhere from $600 to $900 for that thing. But I think there's a possibility that that could potentially hurt the Switch 2 sales. But I still don't get it. And there's not even there's a lot of games out for it. Right now you got Mario Kart, and that's really it. Everything else is just old games that are slightly upgraded to the graphics for the Switch 2, or old games that are just ported to the Switch. There's nothing that's overly special for the Switch 2, in my opinion. I'm just kind of shocked that they went this direction with this system, and that there's people that are this crazed and excited to get it, to spend this money in this market. I'm shocked. But again, look, I know I'm eventually going to have one in my household, or 2 or 3. Who knows how many I'm going to have here, just because of all the kids that are here. But I don't know. I still think that possibly if more games come out that are exciting, because that's kind of what I'm waiting for. A new Mario, a new Zelda, a new, whatever, that's really going to make this system worth it. Sure, I get it. But Mario Kart for me isn't a system moving game. It's never been a system moving game for me. It's a fun game to play, but that's a fun multiplayer game to play. It's not a game that I'm going to sit there and grab and I want to play this for hours on end. It's not a game for me. I don't know. I just don't get it. I don't know if any of you have gotten the Switch 2. What is it that you're playing? What is it that excited you in getting the Switch 2 so early and adopting it so early? What is it that drew you to having to get it immediately? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And just, let everyone know. Let me know. What is it about the Switch 2 that really drug you in? Love to know. Everybody over here. Trayvon says, I'll stick with the Wii, Xbox One, and PS3. Man, you're a couple generations behind at this point, buddy. Trayvon says people couldn't care less about the price hikes. Give them their Nintendo consoles. That's crazy. Anybody else over here? Nobody else saying anything about the Switch stuff. Okay. All right. I like Chris here. He says Star Wars already became a parody. Yeah, look, this is before Star Wars was a parody, the original Spaceballs. So it's okay. All right, let's move on to the DC stuff. All right, first up, Supergirl. Now, before I get into this, there is so much stuff to talk about when it comes to DC. A lot of stuff. We have things that James Gunn has said on Threads. We have this Rolling Stone article. There's a lot of things. I'm going to be jumping all over the place. All right. There's going to be things I'm going to jump all over the place. I see a lot of stuff that you're saying in the comments. If I don't hit it, re-comment it or something like that. Maybe I didn't see it. I want to make sure I see as much as possible. So make sure you re-comment it if I don't see it, especially if it relates to a topic that I'm talking about right now or throughout the show. But make sure you re-comment if I don't see it, especially if you commented earlier in the show. All right. Anyways, number one, the first thing, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, has been renamed to just Supergirl. So this was part of the Rolling Stone article that James Gunn had, which I think was an excellent article and has really shed a lot of light on the DCU. We're going to cover that article in a little bit here. I'm going to go through a lot of stuff, but I wanted to bring this up first because this excites me as we're nearing the end of really the I don't want to say like the first phase because it's not the right word, but with Lanterns about to end production here in about a month and a half or so, this first wave, I guess I'll say, of DC content is about to like be done. And I'm going to say wave, which is Creature Commando, Superman, Supergirl, what is it? Creature Commando, Superman, Peacemaker, Supergirl, Lanterns. Like those first 5 projects is I'm calling like the first wave. Like these are like all about to be in the bag. Whether it's, in post-production or whatever, but all photography, everything like that, it's all been done. It's like kind of all due to be released, has been released or about to release or whatever. And they are making slight tweaks and changes along the way, which I really like. Like, for instance, Supergirl, he talks about how they get together and they talk about these things when it comes to the films. He says they got together with Superman prior to the movie, prior to filming the movie. And it was like, let's talk about the things that may or may not work with this film. And one of the things that was brought up was the Legacy, Superman Legacy name. And they decided to remove the name, the colon Legacy from it, because amongst the group of them, they felt that it didn't work. Same thing can go on here with Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Now, it seems like they're removing the Woman of Tomorrow, just making it Supergirl. It's a lot more simplistic, a lot more easy to market and everything like that. Makes sense. But that's the exciting thing that you see. That's the process of coming together as filmmakers, as executives, as just these writers and directors. They're just always working, always making sure that they're doing the best they can for these projects, which is unlike what we've seen in the past with DC. And I keep telling everybody, this is not the same regime that we've had before. This is not the DCEU. This is not what it was under Time Warner. This is not what it was under AT&T. This is something completely different. This is something where they're taking their time. They're approaching it in a way that is a lot better and smoother, and it's going to run a lot smoother than it's ever run before. And that's what's exciting. And this just shows that this is just a little bit and tidbit of what that means and how it shows that. So that's exciting. The next thing I want to talk about here, and I love Real Anarchy here, because while that was exciting about Supergirl, we get into some things where James Gunn decides to start debunking a bunch of BS that happened around the internet. And this he kind of does on Threads. And James Gunn debunks rumors the Teen Titans movie is casting this fall. So in this, he was asked, there are rumors on TikTok the Teen Titans movie will start casting this fall. When would be a good time to have reps submit me to casting? So I don't know who this Bo Tyler official is. I don't know who's Bo Tyler. Is he an actor that I should know about? I don't know. Regardless, James Gunn says that's complete BS. I love it. I absolutely love it. Call out the bullshit rumors. We need to see more of that. James Gunn calling out the ridiculous rumors and bullshit is exactly what we need to see from him. Like, that's something that we've not seen before. On top of that, he also calls out some other bullshit. There was somebody that said, I assume those rumors about Matt Reeves delivering the script on Memorial Day are also BS. He goes, I haven't heard that one, but it's also not true. No one ever expected it by then. So who was it that said that there was going to be a script by Memorial Day? Who was it? Was it Jeff Snyder? Was he the one? I think he was the one. I think it was Jeff Snyder that said that. So we are once again getting proof that all of these scoopers, all of these people, they either make crap up or get bad information and they throw it out there as fact and like, oh, look, I know what I'm talking about. I get one thing right after every 10, 15 scoops I make. Oh, you should believe me on everything. No, don't believe them. It's ridiculous. Like James Gunn says over and over again, if it doesn't come from me or Peter Safran, the studio directly, take it with a giant grain of salt. Don't believe it. There's no reason to believe it at that point in time. All right. Let's see. Do I have one more thing here? Speaking of the Batman, because this was really important. Now, this was also talked about in the Rolling Stone article. James Gunn on the DCU and the Batman merger possibility in the Batman Part 2. So he was asked, first of all, if there was a 0% chance, if there was no chance in Robert Pattinson becoming the Batman in the DCU. He said, I would never say zero because you just never know, but it's not likely. It's not likely at all. I'll also say Batman Part 2 is not canceled. That's the other thing I hear all the time, that Batman Part 2 is canceled. It's not canceled. We don't have a script. Matt's slow. Let him take his time. Let him do what he's doing. God, people are mean. Let him do his thing, man. There it is. There it is. Like, do we need to hear it anymore? Like, do we need to hear it anymore? I don't think we need to hear it anymore. I don't think we do. It's one of those things that it's kind of like, okay, after so long, after how many times James Gunn says the Reeves versus separated, or they say it's not canceled, whatever it is, people still don't want to believe. And it's getting out of hand. What else do you want the man to do? I don't know what else you want him to do. He's telling you straight right here, it's not canceled. It's not canceled. So there you have it. Those are the first few stories I want to talk about. What are you guys saying over here in the chat? All right. Jalen says, scoopers need to stop. Not all, but a good chunk need to stop. Yeah, I'd just rather them all stop. Fanimator says he does the same thing with Dogman, DC Super Pets, and the Paw Patrol movies, which I don't know who you're talking about, Fanimator. Trayvon says, James Gunn be like, that's some bull. Donovan says, I love that he's essentially shooting down Jeff Snyder because all these scoopers come from Jeff. All these scoops come from Jeff. Yeah, it's true. What else do we got? Anything else? Chris says people jump to conclusions. Toxic Carnage. I don't know why everyone wants Pattinson in the DCU. It just doesn't fit. Thank you. Thank you. I agree wholeheartedly. The Watcher says, I know I drop scoops here too, but I only drop it if I believe it's very possible. I know that sounds kind of like trust me, bro, but whatever. Look, here, there's a difference between like dropping information, being hopeful and wanting to have a discussion about it, and being someone like Jeff Snyder or Grace Randolph, RK, what's his name? You know who I'm talking about. Like being those kind of people who want to sit there and be the first to tell information and be the first to sit there and say, hey, look, I got this information. This is real. This is happening. And then whenever it gets debunked, they sit there and double down and say, oh, that's not what I'm hearing. This is real. Like there's a difference between that kind of stuff, Watcher. So, but I get what you're saying. Let's see. Amari says people are saying the fact Matt Reeves is doing another project while not focusing on the Batman is suspicious. Is he writing or is he directing it? Or is he producing it? What's the other thing that he's doing, Amari? I didn't see that. Toxic Carnage says we need a fantastical Batman, which we will be getting. Watcher says, I can't stand Jeff or Grace Randolph. Grace blocked me. She blocks everybody. That doesn't agree with her. All right. Moving on. James Gunn has confirmed that John Williams' theme will be utilized in Superman. Now, the reason why this is important, all right, there is a big reason why this is important. It's because the latest trailer, the music was very, very different in the latest trailer. And I didn't necessarily hear the John Williams theme like we heard it in the previous trailers. So this was a good question that somebody asked. Is the John Williams theme used in the actual movie or is it just in the trailers? And he says it's in the movie. So for those of you out there who are real excited about the John Williams theme being in the movie, rest assured it will be there. Rest assured it's there. Next up, James Gunn was asked, have you talked to any castmates from Guardians of the Galaxy films on potential roles in the DCU yet? And he says, yes. What's interesting about this is there are going to be a couple of cameos of sorts or pop-ins in Superman, from what I understand. Now, if you think about it, Nathan Fillion, he was in Guardians of the Galaxy, so he's in there. His wife technically was in Guardians of the Galaxy, so she's in the DCU now. So there's already cast members from the DC or from Guardians in the DCU, but I think people are more along the lines asking like the main cast. So you're talking about Batista, probably Bradley Cooper, wink, yeah, Chris, whatever his name is. Yeah, I can't think right now. But all of them, the main cast. I think that's what they're talking about. And honestly, I'm sure we'll see many of them. I'm sure we'll see many, if not all of them, show up at some point in the DCU because they all like working with James Gunn. They do. So why not? Why not work with him again in different types of roles? Why not? I think it's a great idea. This one is a really, really cool topic. I actually really like this topic here because it's it's one that I think a lot of people disregard in a way. So he was asked about the costumes in the DCU. And they asked him, do you have final say on how costumes look for projects you don't direct or write yourself? He says, technically, but I let the directors do their own thing unless it gets too weird or something, which it hasn't yet. That is really cool. Again, I want to take this take a step back here and take it back to like mid last year, late last year, or something like that, when there were so many people sitting there thinking James Gunn is going to ruin the DCU because it's all going to be like James Gunn. And I sat there and I assured people, look, James Gunn is not directing, he's not writing, he's not doing everything, every project in this universe. People need to relax. You may not like Superman, but that doesn't mean you won't like Batman. That doesn't mean you won't like Lanterns. That doesn't mean you won't like this. It doesn't mean you won't like that. But then people went on and they tried to say, well, he's going to have his hands on everything. So it's all going to be just James Gunn, James Gunn. He's not going to let the directors and the filmmakers give their artistic opinions and stuff like that. Well, right here, he's saying, yes, I'm letting them do their own thing unless it gets too weird, which that's his job as a studio head. If they get a little, if they color outside the lines a little too much, he's got to rein them in. That's the job that he has. Him and Peter Safran have to do that. That's what they need to do. So he's allowing the filmmakers, the writers, the directors to actually do and be artists and do what they need to do. And that's encouraging. That's great and encouraging. But not only that, he was asked, are you pleased with Millie Alcock's and Jason Momoa's costumes for Supergirl? And he goes, very. That's exciting. Because I know we're all excited to see him. Oh, excuse me. I know we're all excited to see him. Probably more so than James Gunn was. I don't know. We've all been talking about it since Supergirl was shooting. When are we going to see Momoa? When are we going to see Supergirl? And yeah, we kind of saw those behind the scene images of them, but they weren't great pictures. People, wanted to say this or that about him. But I'm telling you, that's exciting to see that James Gunn is happy with him. He's given the freedom of the directors to kind of do what they want to do with them. And not only that, but he was also asked, do you anticipate your heroes having multiple costumes throughout the DCU, like Superman in a sequel having a similar yet different costume? And he says, yes. This is it's all fantastic information. I love the Superman suit for Superman. I love it. I think it's a great suit. I absolutely like the way the suit looks. I still have a theory that there's going to be a second suit, at least a second suit in this movie. But it's nice to hear that we're going to see different iterations and different looks for Superman, for the Lanterns, for Hawkgirl, for Mr. Terrific. Excuse me. I think that's great. And that's exciting to see that they're not just going to be stuck to one look and one design, because that can get boring after some time. We've seen it in all other movies. I mean, we go back to, you take a look at the Nolan trilogy of Batman. Like, he got a new suit in the second movie. You saw that. You go back to even the Man of Steel to BVS to Justice League. He got new suits in each one. I mean, you go back to those movies, the movies before, there are new iterations, new designs, different looking suits in each movie. Even the Blade films back in the 90s to the 2000s, different suits, the X-Men movies. They do that, and that's great. It's fun because it keeps it fresh, a little different. Plus, you can sell more merch that way. But it's besides the point. So it's exciting. I love hearing them talk about the suits and really diving into what their idea and thoughts are about how they handle the suits, what their thoughts are, and where they're going with them. That's exciting. I do love that. But what do you guys have to say? Let me know in the comments below. Amari says, yay, more suits. The Watcher says, we're always going to get there. Suits cause of merchandise. Yes. Trayvon says, considering his wife worked for Sony, I wouldn't be so. Oh, you're talking about what's his face? Okay. Watcher says Gunn, in my opinion, needs to direct one of the other Trinity members at least, because those have to be done correctly. I only trust Gunn with the Trinity. I don't only trust Gunn with the Trinity. I trust Gunn to pick the right people to go forward with these films. Getting Gillespie to write Supergirl, getting what's her face for Supergirl, or not Gillespie. Gillespie's directing it. Getting what's her face to write Supergirl. I'm sorry. I trust what he's doing there. He's currently writing Batman, or helping write Batman, at least a spec script Batman with somebody, at least a spec script. We don't know how in depth he's getting with Batman. He says they're kind of working together on how to get that story together. Same thing with Wonder Woman. So they're trying to figure that out. If he's involved in that process, at least figuring out what the stories are going to be, and then allowing a writer to write that movie completely with the idea and those ideas going and following the ideas of James Gunn, and then letting a filmmaker to go in there and actually make that film, I'm fine with that. James Gunn doesn't have to be involved with every one of those movies. He doesn't in that regard. I want to see different styles and different iterations of these characters in different ways. But I do still want to see James Gunn be involved. I personally might like, and I know this isn't how it's going to be, but personally, I wish they would have planned it a little bit better, where James Gunn made Superman, and then they had however many movies in between, and during that time, he's helping get these all set up, but his next movie was Justice League. Like, that's kind of what I wish they would have done. So he did Superman, and then if they had a Superman 2, somebody else did that. If they had a Batman, a Wonder Woman, a Supergirl, whatever, had all those movies between that and Justice League, whatever it was, however many movies they were going to do, they got that all set up, and he was working on that, but he did Justice League then. That's kind of what I wish they kind of did there, personally. That's just me. But hey, I'm still excited for everything they do. Antonio Baker, Bradley Cooper isn't Superman. He's playing Jor-El. Hence why I said wink. Soul Survivor Studio says, I love the John Williams motifs in the recent trailers. I constantly work out to the official trailer music. I can't wait for the soundtrack to come out officially. Yeah. I can't wait also. All right, what else do we got here? Trayvon says John Williams' Superman theme is synonymous with pop culture, let alone Superman. Anyone saying each Superman needs his own theme is full of it. It's true. Watcher says the reason I say this is because Gunn is the visionary for the DCU, so I only trust Gunn with it. If he's assisting and giving notes, great, but I do believe it's very possible he directs another. Yeah, I think he will direct another. I mean, I think that's what he's doing. I think he's been asked about what he's writing and what his next project is. I think whatever he himself is going to write, he himself will direct. So that's kind of how I'm looking and figuring it's going to work. So I think whatever the next project that he's going to be writing, he will be directing, whether that's World's Finest or something else. I think that's going to be the next movie he directs, and then eventually we'll see where it goes from there. But yeah, I don't think he needs to be as heavily involved with the Trinity, though. But yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. I do 100% get what you're saying. All right. Let's see. Next thing. Real Anarchy seems to think that this is confirming Brandon Sklenar in the DCU. Somebody asked James Gunn, James, do you like Brandon Sklenar's Spencer Dutton in 1923? And he says, yes, that show was great. Oh, that's it. Brandon Sklenar confirmed as Batman. There it is. confirmed. No, I'm just kidding. It's not confirmed, but it is kind of silly how people were trying to. I know Real Anarchy was just having fun here. He's not actually believing that, but this is one of the things people are trying to do. They're trying to pick and prod if they can figure out who he's looking at for Batman. There's a lot of people who think that the Batman is already cast. There's a lot of people who think that he's going to show up in Superman or in Lanterns or something like that. It's going to be interesting. It will be interesting. James Gunn has stated that he will not cast a character that is not in a script. So if they don't have Batman in the script, he's not going to be cast anywhere. It's that simple. If Bruce Wayne's not cast or not in a script, he's not going to be cast. What else can you do? So I think it's hilarious that people are trying this hard to figure out who it is, but there's every little bit is exciting, for sure. Now, James Gunn clarifies what Grounded Lantern Show means, because a lot of people have been concerned about this idea of a grounded Lanterns show. You hear a lot of people say, oh, how can you make a lantern show that's grounded? The lanterns are supposed to be cosmic. They're supposed to be in outer space. They're supposed to, be flying and using their rings. And it's supposed to be, otherworldly and things like that. How are you going to make a grounded show? But he clarifies. He goes, I meant grounded in terms of fully rounded characters making realistic choices. Many off-world science fiction stories are grounded, specifically in that way. That's what I'm kind of adding to it. And he's not wrong. I never expected them to make a lantern show where they don't use their powers. They don't show space. They don't show the cosmic side of the lanterns. Like, that would just be ridiculous. And I don't see James Gunn being that ridiculous with it. Especially when you're building a new universe that is establishing the lanterns, the lantern core. You are showing Guy Gardner in the Superman movie utilizing his ring like he's using, flying and doing all the things that he would do as a Green Lantern. And then the next project with the lanterns, you're going to have them not utilizing their powers and being Green Lanterns. That doesn't make any sense. So, I never thought that they were going to do what a lot of people thought that they're going to do this. No, it was never going to be like that. People were just being ridiculous. I like how he answers this because he doesn't want to give anything away, but he's just kind of explain, look, we're going to dive deep. This is going to be a deep show. This is not going to be goofy and ridiculous like 2012's Green Lantern. This is going to be a deep, well-rounded show with real depth to these characters. And that's what's exciting. That's why I keep going back and telling people, look, if you don't like Superman, you may like Lanterns. And there's going to be diversity within this DCU on the tones and the different types of shows and projects that you get. There's going to be diversity in that regard. So be excited, because there's going to be a little something for everybody. And you're going to see the first bit of that really with Lanterns, because if you think about it, Superman's going to be very more on the family friendly side, more excitement, in that regard. What Peacemaker brings you, that's more the raunchy adult comedy side. Lanterns, it's going to be more of the grounded science fiction, more of the probably going to be more, I won't say adult, but more serious tone in nature. Serious tone. Yeah, that's what I'm figuring. So right there, those three projects are going to be very vastly different. So you're going to be able to pick and choose which one you like the most and go from there. And that's exciting. That is truly, truly exciting. All right. This one is really interesting. There was a question asked to him about if what's her face, what's her name, the princess, James Gunn, Princess Alana Rostovic from Creature Commandos, if she would be back in season 2, or if she could come back. And he says, in the DCU, if you die, you're dead. And somebody says, that's a big commitment, James. He goes, it's the way I've always done it. So then somebody asks, as someone who loves the no resurrections rule, I do wonder, doesn't it limit you from using established elements of DC Comics lore, like the Lazarus Pit? He says, well, I wouldn't mind using the Lazarus Pit and or resurrection in a story, but it would have to be part of the story itself. I won't be killing major characters just to pop them in the Lazarus Pit to be alive again. So to me, what that tells me is he understands the importance of storytelling because he's a damn good writer. You know, you don't just go and kill somebody off just to bring them back later on. Comics do they do that all the time in the comics, and it's annoying and it's stupid and it sucks. But I get it, because you have a character and you want to make an impactful moment, and you kill off a character, and then you have to bring them back because they're a major character, and you have to. But in the movies, it's a little bit different. In TV shows, it's a little bit different. When you kill a character off, you have to make it mean something, and it has to stick. Like, it has to stick. And if it doesn't stick, then it ruins everything that comes after that. The stakes are not the same after that point. Once you kill off a major character, a big player in your show, in your movie, or what it is, and they stay dead, the stakes are always that high in anything you write or do moving forward. Now, yes, there are moments in time when you can have a story about Jason Todd being put in the Lazarus Pit and coming back to life. There could be a story used with magic and somebody is resurrected. That's a possibility, especially when you're playing with the occult and the supernatural and things like that, which is very, very heavily used in the DC universe. But that's not going to be an all the time thing. That is the exception, not the rule. And I like that. And that's exciting because you don't want to see that all the time. You know, if we have these characters, if we have a Batgirl, if we have a, whoever, like I'm going to take Batgirl, for instance, if we ever get to a Killing Joke type of moment where the Joker shoots Batgirl, like I want her to legitimately get shot and suffer the consequences from that moving forward. Like, that's how it should be. I don't want it to be, oh, she was shot, she's in the hospital, and now she's good again. Now, my only concern here is what happened with Peacemaker. What happened with Peacemaker? And he killed Peacemaker in the Suicide Squad. He was dead. I'm sorry. He was dead. But he brought him back to life just so he could have a TV show. Because honestly, he wrote that script. They shot the movie and they were like, holy crap, John Cena was amazing as Peacemaker. We need to do more with him. That's essentially what happened. And they had to find a way to bring him back to life. And they decided to just say, oh, he didn't actually die. He was alive. They found him and he was alive. Kind of rough. But I'm just worried about moments like that. But besides that, I love the idea of dead is dead in the DCU. I love it. And I hope he sticks to it. I do. What are you guys saying over there? Marty says, Lex saying he will kill his parents is kid friendly. I said family friendly, not kid friendly. Family friendly. Come on, get it straight. First off, yes, it can be family friendly and him still saying he's going to kill his parents, because you can have a family friendly film where kids see things like that. And that's pretty frightening to kids. But when you have a hero who's going to save the day and not allow that to happen, well, yeah, that's family friendly. So yes, very much so family friendly. I don't know what's going on in the chat here, guys. Toxic Carnage says, I like that rule. I don't want the same BVS ending happening again. Well, I mean, that's a typical Death of Superman storyline, so that'll happen from... I don't think that's going to... I don't think we're going to see the Death of Superman in the DCU, but I'm sure you'll see it again somewhere. Lawrence Fury says, the DCU is about to be peak. All I got to say. Hell yeah. 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 All right. And before we get into this Rolling Stone article a little bit, which, man, we're already at 55 minutes, man. I want to talk about one of the funniest things that happened. James, please be aware of this disgusting behavior. So sick and tired of this rubbish. This person posted the Reddit thread where somebody posted, stand up and fight for Snyderverse on July 11th. Fight, excuse me. Fight for our Snyderverse on the imposter Superman release day. Here's what we can do to make a difference. Post spoilers everywhere. People are less likely to see or enjoy a movie if it's already spoiled. Leave bad rating on review sites. We know for sure Gunbots will post fake positive reviews, so we must let people know the truth and balance the bias out with realistic scores. Number 3, reserve tickets online. Don't complete the purchase by selecting and reserving tickets. It gets taken out of the pool for a period of time, which means this has a chance of stopping Gunbots from buying tickets. Gunn fired the first shot and killed the Snyderverse, and here's our chance to take the fight back to him. Restore the Snyderverse. If we can't have our Superman, no one can. Yeah, that was something that popped up a couple days ago. So James Gunn was asked about it. He goes, LOL, I think we'll survive. I'm not sure the 8 people I'm not sure that the 8 people that listen to the guy, I'm going to go out on a limb and guess it's a guy, are going to impact the course of events. So, this is hilarious to me, okay? First off, I sit here and talk about how the Snyder fandom has become just full of hypocrites completely. I've been saying it for years. Because they are. The problem is, they once fought for artistic integrity, and now an artist is trying to showcase his art, and they're trying to push back and boycott him and say no. Like it's hypocrisy, and right there. I mean, it's 100% hypocrisy. But the ridiculousness about this whole thing is, first off, they say Gunn fired the first shot and killed the Snyderverse. No, he didn't. No, Gunn did not fire the first shot and killed the Snyderverse. The Snyderverse ended in 2017. Kevin Tushihara, Jeff Johns, John Berg, they're the ones who ended the Snyderverse. They're the ones that essentially pushed Zack Snyder out after there was tragedy in his family. He couldn't stand to stick around and push through and finish the Justice League movie, so he left to be with his family after tragedy struck. And they brought Joss Whedon in, and he completed the Justice League movie. That's when the Snyderverse ended. Jeff Johns, John Berg, Kevin Tushihara, they're the ones who ended the Snyderverse, not James Gunn. I don't know how many times I have to tell people that. Like, it's madness to me that these people who consider themselves fans of this universe, consider themselves fans of DC, don't understand the basic timeline of events on how things happened. It's maddening to me. Now, I know some of them will try and twist it and say, well, in 2020, they announced that the Snyder Cut was coming, and that brought it back. No, it didn't. Because nothing besides the Snyder Cut was promised. Nothing was promised. There's rumor that they discussed with Ben Affleck about doing the Batman movie. Again, the rumor was that Ben Affleck would come and do a Batman movie for HBO Max, but only if Zack Snyder would be part of it. HBO Max, Warner Brothers said no way. Ben Affleck walked away. That's what happened. And that was that. Nothing else. Nothing was ever promised to Zack, to anybody else after that. So where is this idea that James Gunn killed off the Snyderverse? Because James Gunn wasn't a part of it even back then. Because Henry Cavill announced that he was back after Black Adam came out, because there was a power struggle before James Gunn was hired, and Henry Cavill didn't have a contract. So when James Gunn got hired, he's like, look, we're moving in a different direction. So Henry Cavill's not going to be the Superman. But when Henry Cavill announced that he was going to be Superman, it wasn't going to be the Snyderverse Superman, because the Snyderverse wasn't coming back. Again, these Snyder Bros just don't understand how things were going and how it was going to play out. So to me, it's just hilarious that they try and do something like this. I showed last week how ridiculous they were trying to do review bombing on their own movie that they love, Man of Steel, positive reviews to try and pump up Man of Steel 12 years later. What is that going to do? What is that proving or showing anybody? Nothing. Nobody cares except for you. Not a single person cares except for you. Like the general audience is going to go watch Superman, whether Man of Steel has a 90% audience score or a 60% audience score. None of the general audience is going to even look at Man of Steel's Rotten Tomatoes score in 2025 to determine if they're going to go see Superman or whether they like Superman or not. But it's this craziness in their minds. It's wild to me. Absolutely wild. But that's not where it ends. Because people keep pushing him. And they keep acting like they know what they're talking about when it comes to James Gunn. And these naysayers, these Snyder Bros specifically, have been saying for months and months and months and months and months that Superman has to be a home run. It has to make $1 billion, $1.3 billion, $1.2 billion. It has to be financially a huge success, or the DCU is over, or the DCU is done. It's finite. It's done. It's over with. But James Gunn essentially calls them out and says, look, guys, this is the first movie. Other people may say it's got to be a home run. Nothing else. I'm like, no. I'd be very happy with a double. What we want to do is make a movie that people love. They feel connected to the characters. It's just this one movie. It's not everything. What he's saying here, because he talks a bit more, this is from the Rolling Stone article. He talks a bit more in explaining how, look, this movie is an investment, essentially. This is basically what he's saying. This movie is an investment. This is the movie that has to start off the new DC universe. It has to excite the fans. Get the fans invested in this movie. Let them know that, hey, there's a new DC universe. There is newness to this DC brand. This isn't the old DCEU. This is something new. So come and check it out. All right? Are we shooting for $1 billion? Absolutely. We would love to get $1 billion. We're swinging for the wall. But look, if we don't get over that wall, if I can make a double, if I can round first and hit a double, absolutely, we're good for that. For those of you who don't understand sport analogies, basically what he's saying is, look, if we can't hit that $1 billion, but we can hit 600 million, that's awesome. As long as the fans and the audience love this movie and enjoy it and are excited for another one. What have I been saying? What have I been saying for months and months? Exactly that. That's exactly what I've been saying for months and months. But you have so many naysayers, so many of these Snyder Bros, so many of these people that want this to fail so bad, that think this movie has to make 800, 900, $1 billion or the DCU has failed. Well, no, that's not what it is, because he's like, look, we got Peacemaker, we got Lanterns, we got Supergirl, plus we have other things in the pipeline. Like, this movie doesn't need to be a home run. It just needs to be what it is. This is one movie. It needs to get fans in love with this stuff again. We have other stuff coming though. So if this doesn't make $1 billion, okay. He also says, like, I just need to make my production budget back. Like, I just need to make my budget back. I make my budget back, we're golden. And there it is. Like, there it is. There's your answer. Everybody thinks this has to save Warner Brothers. This movie is the movie to save Warner Brothers. No, that's not what this is. Gunn understands it. Safran understands it. Zaslav understands it. Everybody understands it, but these haters, they understand what they're trying to do and build with this universe. And it's a beautiful thing to see. It's exciting to see that he's calling out all of these haters finally in just a sly way. I love to see it. But let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear what you have to say in the comments below. Oh, man. Oh boy. Watcher says, by the way, did that Fisher guy quit YouTube? No, he did not. He did not quit YouTube. He made a video where he decided to announce that he blocked me on X. He's like, I finally did it, everybody. I finally did it. I blocked him. I couldn't take it anymore. The most toxic guy in the world. I finally did it. That's what I did. I don't know why that's my impression of Aaron Fisher. So he made a video where he did that. And then he said, and I wanted to say that, you know, everybody keeps saying if Superman's a success, that my channel's going to go away. But that's not the truth. That's not what's going to happen. It's not going to happen. I'm just going to go back. Look, I'm a good movie reviewer, and I'm going to keep doing it. I've been watching movies since I was a kid. My little pops and moms and stuff like that. We go to the store, video store, watch a movie, pick up chicken and stuff like that. Yeah, I watched the video. That's basically what it was. That's all he talked about. So yeah, he's not quitting YouTube. And it's basically based off of something I kept tweeting under his tweets, that once Superman comes out and it's a success, that it's the end of his channel. Essentially, I kept saying that just to be funny and to rile him up, and people started jumping on it, and it was just hilarious. So yeah. Soul Survivor Studio says, Slav, I appreciate that you are coming to bat up to the truth with all the lies and bullshit. I wish I was as bold as you are. Just do it, man. Just do it. It's fun. It's fun. Critic Chris says he's controlling the narrative on his channel. He'll delete anyone who goes and says he was wrong. Yeah, whatever. The Watcher says, oh, he blocked you? Slav, WTF, whatever. LOL, ignore him. I thought he was talking about RJ. Oh, wait. I don't think he was talking about RJ, because I was blocked that day, and then the video came out. So I'm pretty sure he was talking about me, but maybe he was talking about somebody else. I don't know. The Watcher goes, I love your impression. Sounds like a Red Dead Redemption. Good times. Good times. Oh, man. All right. Real quick, I got to get out of here so I can do my members only video here in a few minutes. So there's a Rolling Stone article that dropped that was all James Gunn, which, you know, people are going to have a problem with that. Why is James Gunn always in the front of everything? There's so much here. It is a long article. It is a great article. I love it. A couple things that I want to point out here in this. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. Hold on. I have actually a really cool. See if I can find it here. Right here. There's a thread that this guy made. So in this thread, this Jordan Jones guy on X kind of made a thread of all the DC information here. Excuse me. It talks about the Supergirl changing to Supergirl, or the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow changing to Supergirl. James Gunn reveals that there was an untitled, he said it was an untitled film. He said it was a film that he didn't talk about, that they had to kill due to a poor screenplay. He said everybody wanted to make the movie. It was greenlit, ready to go. The screenplay just wasn't ready, and I couldn't do a movie where the screenplay is not good. So you love to see that. They talk about Superman. He says, Superman will explain how Lois can't see past Clark's glasses. It comes up again later in the movie and it's explained. She says it. We mention it and it's a one off and people chuckle. But there's stuff later in the movie about the glasses that are canon. That's canon in the comics. He also goes on in the article and kind of explains like he couldn't figure out the glasses. Like he just couldn't figure it out. Like it was bothering him. He couldn't figure it out. He talks to Tom King and they kind of work it out and they finally figure out the whole glasses thing together for the movie. Again, working together with other artists and people like that who've worked with these characters in the comics and stuff like that to figure things out, which is great. Gunn says he wanted the Superman to be vulnerable. He says, I see the things online. Who would beat whom? Homelander and Superman or effing whatever, Adam Warlock or Brightburn. I'm like, this is stupidest conversation. Like, so then whoever would win this fight means they're the best because I'll just go out and write God-Man who can destroy you with a wink. And I win. I win all the fights forever. But I didn't want a Superman who could punch planets. And also we're creating a whole universe now. So what's a girl with wings going to do in the face of that? So he's a little less powerful. Guy Gardner's pretty powerful. They're all pretty powerful. So that's exciting as well because, you know, you get an understanding that this Superman isn't like OP. He isn't super OP, godlike powers. Like he's vulnerable. Like he has weaknesses. And that's exciting to see. And it's going to be interesting to see how they pull that off. They also talk about potential Marvel DC crossover that's been discussed. He says that could easily happen, but simultaneous to that, I think would be interesting. But I also think people are a little over it. I think people want to see good stories with their superheroes, and that's what matters. They need more variety. They need just more quality storytelling, and just having Spider-Man and Superman team up isn't going to do it if it's shit. So it's got to come from a real place, and it's really hard to make that work. This is one where I completely disagree. Just do it. Just get it done, man. People want to see it. We all want to see it. Make it happen. Not right away. Maybe wait about 5-10 years, but make it happen because I think we all want to see it at some point. They talk about him writing his next thing. He says he's not going to really start diving into it until after Superman comes out, but he's been writing some treatments. Currently Batman is DC's main priority. He confirms he's not penning Brave and the Bold himself, but working closely with the writer to ensure it's executed right. He doesn't want to make a film simply because it's Warner Brothers' biggest character, but because there's a need for him in the DCU. Described as not exactly the same as Reeves' Batman, but yet not campy, which I like to hear. I don't want a campy Batman, but I don't want it majorly grounded. I want it to be a little... like I want it more like the animated series is really what I want to see. We talked about the Batman 2 already. So yeah, I mean, that's a lot of stuff that it goes over in that article. There's some other things that I really encourage you all to go read the Rolling Stone article. It is excellent. It is great for sure. Definitely think you should all go check that out. But with all that said, guys, I am going to get out of here. It's been a pleasure. It was a great show. Thank you all. Like I said, I am going to be doing a members only stream here in a couple minutes. It's going to be a short stream. So if you're a member, you can jump on over to that. It's just going to be a fun little topic that I do. And I'm going to start doing these Monday nights after the live show. It's going to be like a 10-minute long stream where I cover one simple little topic to have a little fun. So stick around for that. With all that said, guys, thank you all so much. Make sure you comment, like, share, subscribe, all that jazz if you're not. This is real, guys. Thank you all so much. I will be back Thursday night with the Watchtower. So make sure you come back Thursday for the Watchtower where we talk all things DC. So a lot more DC discussion on Thursday. Should be a good time. With all that said, guys, I'll catch you all later.